Let's start officially. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to another exciting session designed to give you some valuable insights into the tech world and help you plan your future in it. As many of you know, this course aims not only to equip you with technical skills, but also to offer a holistic view of what it's like to be a software developer in this rapidly evolving technology landscape. In alignment with this world, we have another special event today. We are thrilled to introduce someone who exemplifies what it means to be a successful, adaptable professional in the tech industry. So please join me welcoming Miles Inada. Hey, Miles.
Thanks for the introduction.
No problem. So, as an esteemed alumnus of this program, Miles has graciously agreed to share his wisdom, experiences, and advice with all of us today. So let's try to make the most out of it. Let's ask as many questions as you guys may have. You can, of course, open your mic and ask anything at any point, or type the question in the chat. So Miles, it's an honor to have you here with us as the speaker today. You have been with us for a long time now. I use you as an inspiration to some other students, to be honest. I kind of mentioned you and a little bit of your story, but we would like to know more about it today and from you instead of me telling your story. So let's start with that. So could you talk us about your transition, or walk us through going from the transition of being a student to being a software developer? How was it for you?
For sure. The transition was kind of crazy. At the time, I had a pool business going, swimming pools. I had a full-time job, and my wife was pregnant, and we had one kid already, a toddler at the time. And I was just trying to figure out what can I do to better my career, kind of get us out. We were on the island of Kauai in Hawaii for a while there. And it was so cramped and just stuck. There wasn't much opportunity to do much more. Then I stumbled upon another alumni who told me about a job position, and kind of just went from there after taking this course. I just took the fundamentals of, what do I need to learn to become a software developer? And that was everything that I was taught kind of here. But that transition was insane. I went through so many resume inputs and interviews. I think I went through probably 70 something applications, and I got about 15 interviews out of that. And it was just, oh my gosh, I couldn't think. JavaScript, Python, what do I want to do? But I ended up figuring out the path that I wanted to take and stuck with it pretty much. But the course was definitely something that I needed to use as a stepping stone. I knew that was going to be like the deal breaker. That's what's going to get me out of here, out of there where I was. So I think in the hospital, I even had my laptop at one point for 2 classes. It was for the data structure and algorithms. So of course it's like, okay, you need to remember everything that's happening here. Is the baby out yet? But I knew that this was it for sure.
Nice. It's really interesting. So do you have any advice on how to prepare your resume? That's some of the pretty common concerns that we got from the students, what to put or how to prepare your resume, because you don't have experience, you don't have any previous experience as a software developer or in the tech world. So any advice?
Man, the last time I did a resume before sending out all of mine was in like middle school. I think it was about 10 years before all the jobs that I had. I was entrepreneur, so I'd go up to people's houses and say, hey, do you need pool service? But for the resume part, I think I just looked online and found the best like videos and people explaining what they did, the psychology behind it, and why they're putting this on there. And I noticed that for developers was to have a portfolio, and that was the biggest thing, was having projects. And don't discount the projects that you did during the class. Those were actually the best projects that I could display. And my boss who hired me, he was actually amazed at all the different stuff that we did and all the different stuff that I took away from that and was able to understand. But as far as a resume, I think just the general template of having your skills. For me, it was mostly the interview. That's where I did the best.
Yeah, for sure. The template, the advice that I usually give to everyone that asks is, try to make a good resume, but don't stress too much. As Miles says, the resume is just to get you through the door, to get you to the first call, to the first interview, and then it's a more person-to-person discussion. You mentioned that you have a ton of interviews. From personal experience, I can tell that it's a little bit hard to go to 2 or 3 interviews and not getting an offer. But you keep pushing, right? Until 15 interviews until you got it. So any advice on that regards?
Yeah, so for me, the biggest thing was I didn't have a college degree. Most of the interviewers were saying, "Hey, do you have some kind of degree?" And just anything. Half of the time, it was they're saying you don't even need one in tech, just some kind of degree, and I didn't have any of that. So I guess they kind of not overlooked me, but said, "All right, well, we'll go through some more applicants and let you know what happens." And I guess that was for some of those places they needed that extra bit to kind of show. But the other ones that did extend an offer, they didn't care about that. It was more about the skills and the willingness to actually learn something. But yeah, the rejections hurt. The first 2, I was like, oh man, this isn't gonna be easy.
It never is. It never is, and the reaction always hurt. But we should try to learn as much as we can from every single interview and not expect that you will get an offer for the first interview. That usually never happens. Doesn't matter if you are just a junior developer or you have 15, 20 years of experience. We usually go through different interviews first because they need to find the right candidate, and second because you need to find the right company. So it's also you can decide if during the interview process you feel that the people, the organization, the processes that they follow are not for you. It's totally okay to look for something else. Any questions at this point?
Oh, and my resume, going back to that, I didn't have, speaking of college degrees, all I had was skills. My past work experience, I was working for myself, so I couldn't put like employment or anything really except for skills. So if
that also and Dr. Cecilia Rico is here with us, and I'm pretty sure she can confirm the fact that you don't have any experience or you work for your own doesn't mean that you cannot sell yourself on the resume. You have experience as a freelance, which gives you experience dealing with clients and setting your timeframes and your own organization. Those are valuable skills that you should sell or put there in the resume. Anthony?
All right. You hear me?
Yep.
All right. So, no, great. Now you're going to have to give me about 10 seconds because I think I forgot what I was going to ask. Oh, yeah. So basically you said that you were doing, that we were, obviously I know we have the project coming up and stuff like that at the end of the course. Miles, you had actually mentioned not to leave any of our projects that we do here at SDGKU to basically add them on there. Are you referring to adding them as freelance work, or what do you mean?
Yeah, so on my portfolio, I actually had like not the capstone, the final, I can't even think of the word now. The final projects for each unit, I had those kind of thrown out and a link to each one. I think I used Netlify at the time to host everything. The Django stuff was Python Anywhere, which was a whole nother learning curve because it doesn't use SQLite 3. So it's like, how do I use a backend on it? But that was another thing I put on my resume, was problem solving. But yeah, just hosting everything, and don't discount it because it's something, and that's a lot more than someone else who has nothing can show.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen resumes with a section that is called personal / academic projects, and in there you describe the projects and the technologies that you use, and maybe the link for each one. Dr. Rico?
So, hi, Miles. You were speaking about your, you were speaking of your experience as a freelancer and how you didn't have the college degree, but you had skills that you had developed, right? So I think it would be very interesting for everyone here to listen to how you presented them. Because you said the resume was not that important. The most important thing was to get into the interviews, and then there you have more of an opportunity to like show the person who was interviewing you the talents that you had and how you could add value to the company you were applying for. But like that first like approach they had to you, like how you presented your skills and then how you prepared to share like to demonstrate how you actually have those skills in the interview, I think would be very helpful for everyone here to listen to.
Yeah. So I was referring to there was 3 phases. There's a resume phase, a regular phone call interview, and then a technical interview. The phone call interview is what I was referencing, of kind of like selling my person, who I was. For that, I mentioned freelancing, and I told them about time management, the ability to kind of think on the fly, and problem solve, staying adaptable. And I mentioned I saw a lot about JavaScript was always changing, Django was always changing, Python was always changing. I mentioned that I'm willing to learn everything, really, and I know that everything depreciates quickly and something new pops up. So that was a good selling point, I think. The willingness to just learn anything. I think I even said that at one point. If you want me on SQL databases, I'll do that, and I'll grow to the next point to the next point and keep going on. But just that part. And then on the technical side, oh man, I choked a couple times. There is a few questions. I was like, oh, how do I solve this? And then they gave different options for different languages as well. So I did one. They had me do SQL, Python, and then JavaScript. I got to pick 2 of the 3 and go from there. So that was kind of nice. But just the Professor Insunza, I believe you told me about HackerRank. I was on there.
Yep.
Leak Code, and Professor Raphael mentioned Code Wars. I was on those for a lot, just doing those practice technical questions. Leak Code was great, but I think I stuck with Code Wars the most because it was kind of a game feel. It was kind of fun and intriguing to keep doing something daily on that one. But that's the technical.
Awesome. What Miles is referring to, for everyone that doesn't know, is that there are these platforms that help you practice the technical skills. You find different problems in there, from the very simple to more advanced problems that you put your code in. You click a button and they will tell you if you solve or not, or your code solves or not the given problem. The platforms that Miles mentioned here, it's HackerRank, someone that I recommend. Lead Code is kind of the industry standard right now to practice for coding interviews, and Code Wars, that it's more a gamified situation, but everything it's almost boils down to the same: a problem, you type your code and make it work, because that's what you can expect from the technical interviews. Sometimes it's just talking about, tell me about your experience, tell me about the languages, tell me what's at least comprehensive in Python or whatever. Just talking and talking and talking. There are those type of interviews too, and we never know which one we will get. So we need to be prepared for both.
Would you be able to post on the chat basically the name of those, because I've been trying to figure out how to spell lit code and what was it, hackathon?
HackerRank.
HackerRank, that thing.
Yeah, sure.
HackerRank and Code Wars.
That way I can save them.
Yeah. Thank you. You mentioned a really interesting topic where you said that you sold yourself as someone that can learn new stuff. And for the tech industry, that's something that we need to. I always compare that to medicine, where you need to stay up to date, you need to stay on top of the wave, because a new framework will appear every month or two, and we need to learn and we need to check those technologies and decide if that's for you or that's not for you. So do you have a process in place to keep up to date with technologies, languages, frameworks?
Social media. I kind of just follow TikTok trends. But coming out, actually, I was applying for React jobs, and I ended up in a different framework called Vue.js. So I actually went through a course on Udemy, and it was so much easier than React. Honestly, it kind of just matched it. It made sense after knowing how React works. I was like, oh wow, there's no TypeScript. This is great. But can do lazy code. But it was sorry, what was your question again?
No, totally fine. If you do something to keep up to date with new technologies and new frameworks.
That's right. Yeah, social media, TikTok trends. There was just at the workplace, we kind of talk about different things. We have a bi-weekly meeting about new technologies. I'm subscribed on medium.com. It's like a blog place. I have a TLDR newsletter that comes in through the email. Again, the lazy thing. I just like the summaries of everything.
No, it's totally fine. Yeah, I think we do. We a lot of often the industry we do that. TLDR. It's a pretty nice platform, by the way, that sends you this style set of news to your email every morning. So 5 minutes and you are up to date. We cannot give you a set of tools that will work for everyone. Each one has a different way of learning or likes different things, but find your way and find your way to find news and to stay up to date with the trends on coding. This course, we have a set of technologies that we want to cover, and the time is limited, and sometimes students complain that we are trying to push too much, and we don't cover most of the technologies. We cover just the most popular, but that doesn't mean that that's everything, that you should limit yourself to be a React developer because we teach React during the course. As Miles mentioned, he ended up being a Vue.js developer, and that's what I always tell the students. Learn how to be a developer, not learn how to be a React developer or a Python developer, just how to be a software developer. The language and the tool, it's less important.
I think another one too is I'm always on documentation pages. I'm always working on new projects. So reading through docs or GitHub repositories, they'll say like this works best with Next.js, or check out whatever this repository. And that kind of brings in new places to check out. I noticed like AI, there's a lot of things that are bumped off of another AI thing, and everything is just kind of crazy. Like, oh, this works better now. This works better now. They changed this, so now React is the best.
Yeah. Be careful with the tutorial hell, it's called, where you just get into a path or a loop of tutorial after tutorial after tutorial, and the only thing that you do is watch someone else coding instead of you code your own projects. And my next question is that one. Did you keep coding after you completed the course, or you just stay on sending resumes and not doing code at all?
No, yeah, I was constantly coding. So Code Wars, I was on daily. I'll try to dedicate 2 to 3 hours to that every day. Usually when the kids and my wife would go to sleep, but at the time it was newborn phase, so it was kind of tricky, but stay on that. Um, yeah, that was the hard part. But then having we actually did a little startup company to make sure that we stay busy. My coworker and I, another alumni, um, and it's just program after program, learning new things, building new apps, and that kind of helped as well. Um, I think there was a few outside of the school, a few communities that I was looking at. So on Discord, there's a lot of different servers I was jumping through. Most GitHub repositories has a Discord server, so jumping onto there and just talking with everybody and staying relevant.
Yeah, thank you. Dr. Arico?
So when I heard you say or speak about AI, I wondered if you had used it during this journey to look for a job, and if so, in which way?
No, not to look for a job, but I use it a lot for everything else. At work, I'm constantly I think instead of Google, I've been using ChatGPT.
Mhm.
It's they got a lot of good answers on there.
Okay.
But yeah, otherwise just daily yeah, I'm just using it daily.
Okay, thanks.
The next topic is how it was for you to join the industry. And I'm asking this because many students constantly told me that they fear what happens if they got the position, what happens if they got the offer, the first day, the first week of work. What if the company, I don't know, requires you to solve work hunger on the first week or make a quantum chip to work or something like that? Obviously, I'm exaggerating here, but how it was for you? What were the expectations for your role, for your first day, for your first week, for your first month?
So I don't want to sound desperate, but I was desperate at the time. Uh, the requirement for the job that I took was to move. Most of the jobs that I found were either hybrid or in office places, and I took the leap. I was trying to get off of Kauai anyway, so ended up in Los Angeles at the Air Force Base. But that was a whole nother thing, kind of just saying that I would do anything. I think it set the tone to my boss that let him know that I'm dedicated, that I actually wanted to do something more. But the first week, the first month, probably the first 6 months, honestly, I was so nervous I was gonna get fired every day. Had that imposter syndrome it felt like it lasted forever. Tutorial hell. I was going through 2 3 hour videos on YouTube constantly. And yeah, just crap, I don't know if I'm gonna do it. I don't know if this isn't gonna work. But practice is actually what helped get rid of that fear for me. Doing more projects on the side, that's what kept my brain thinking, well, I can do this here, so why can't I do that at work? And yeah.
Nice. And do you remember your first tasks on work?
Yeah, it was like create a button. I had a button task. And then they figured out that my HTML and CSS structure was awesome thanks to Professor Samantha. So they had me working in SAS. I told them I want to learn new stuff, so they told me go learn this SAS and see if you can figure it out for us and make a style guide. So that was my first big mission, was to create a style guide.
Nice.
A button for the first week.
That's perfect. That's perfect, because I usually told that to the students, but it's hard for them to believe me. I think it's easier for them to believe you that the first assignment is change the letter, move the color, change the color, create a button, something really, really simple. And after 1 month, what kind of assignments you were working in? Super high level, medium stuff, simple stuff?
Kind of medium to high for me at the time. We were using a backend called SharePoint, and that's pretty like government. I guess that's their standard to use. But they had me making a blog and news articles, and from that it was just learning the backend and learning. I think we have a WordPress site too that I had to figure out how that works, there's no code to it, which is like, what? How does this work? It was harder to not code than to code in the workplace. But yeah, after that, creating the design system, I guess that would be pretty high level. I had to dive into NPM, figure out how Node works, make sure that I'm studying constantly and not doing the wrong best practices. But yeah, it was just learning. The first couple weeks I was partnered with a senior developer too, so he was kind of helping me along and telling me the stupid ideas.
That's industry standard, I will say. When you get, especially as an entry-level developer, you get to a new company, you will get someone assigned to help you and to answer your questions and to guide you through the standard, through the code, to the company policies and stuff like that. Questions? I want questions from the audience.
That's the hardest part.
Not necessarily a question, but I actually wanted to bring up a comment about how you said that I think you put in like 75 resumes and had like 15 interviews, something like that. That's actually not bad. I've heard a lot worse statistics of people putting in hundreds of resumes and then all of a sudden, like 3 years later, they get one interview. I don't know, not that high, obviously, but like that they put a lot more resumes in than they do get interviews.
I was thinking actually that was connected to like different platforms that I was using. So I was using LinkedIn, Indeed, and Glassdoor. Glassdoor. I was using a whole bunch of different platforms. So I think those are so saturated that it gets kind of hard and you have to follow up. I noticed the ones that I was able to land an interview, I would send my resume, wait a couple of days, and then send them a message. Hey, have you checked this out?
What would you say is probably a good amount of time after you send an interview before you like send a follow-up? That way you don't seem like, hey, like you're trying to be...
There's no such thing as too pushy. From what I've heard and experienced, even my boss mentioned that. I was calling my boss every 2 days to say, hey, how's the progress with my paperwork? What's going on? What's the situation? I guess that was showing commitment and that I'm trying to follow through. But again, I was trying to not come off as desperate. But I think what we see as desperate, they see as
taking initiative.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, just following up maybe a day or two, like I was saying, send a message. If you don't hear back, send another message. I give myself 2. After 2, I just stop talking.
So getting back into the whole adding the projects into your resumes and whatnot, when they do ask about them, like say for example, I don't remember which one it was. I think it was 103 or 2, something like that, or one of our first classes where it was the pet saloon. Let's say, for example, you had it on your interview or on your resume, they see it and they start asking questions like, how would you label that on your resume? Like, would you put it down as, oh, I built a website for a company for veterinarians or something of the sort? Or
I put it down as like JavaScript fundamentals. And this is kind of like a showcase of the different skills that I learned to develop in JavaScript. Because in that, I think that's where we touch constructors and the different beginning parts of the higher level stuff. I think that one had everything. Actually, you have the basic input catching, you have everything on that. And then the next one was jQuery with like the users table. So I was connecting those two, saying this is how I got to understand jQuery better, because now I know the DOM is here and we're selecting the DOM and with our whatever document.get element. But
so you're not exactly bringing up about like the way that the website looks or anything like that. You're bringing up the code and what the code is doing so that they get an understanding of that you actually understand it.
Exactly. Yeah, I told them don't even look at the design. What I was working on was JavaScript. The one 102, I believe, is where we did CSS, and I said, look at this. This is what I learned for front end, beautifying everything, making it look pretty. 104, my main focus was arrays and creating objects, learning the fundamentals of JavaScript, and nothing to do with prettiness. But well, I mean, there was, but so that wasn't my focus. I wasn't focusing on learning that at the time. Mine are bad, by the way.
Awesome. Marquise, any questions? I saw that you're in mute.
Yeah, my question was about how you displayed the portfolio. And I mean, Anthony pretty much talked a little bit about it, but just how we're describing the projects we did, because I got them on my resume, but I'm still not like at the point where like I'm satisfied. I'd rather have a landing page that they go to and then, you know, see the portfolio from there.
Yeah, on my resume, I just have like a milesinada.com. I did everything free. I didn't pay for anything, so that URL is already gone. But it was just a landing page, and I had some fancy JavaScript stuff going on in there, a toggle button, just front end things, and then I had a button that would link to my portfolio page, which had all the different projects that I did. And then I had an about me page, a contact page, but that was about it. It was really basic, but I did just cards, you know, bootstrap cards,
Yeah.
For each project basically, and a screenshot.
Okay, so it's not like interactive where you can go to the actual like project itself, like a
Oh,
page.
it was. Yeah, I hosted all of them. I used Netlify. Again, it was free, so I didn't want to pay anything. I was watching videos of people saying, you know, your portfolio is just to get you the job. You're not going to keep these apps forever. So don't waste your time buying domains or anything. My opinion. This is just my opinion. But I used the Netlify free URLs. It was like Sprinkle Princess 5869.netlify or something. But it was like each one had its own unique URL hosted on there. The Django ones, I used Python Anywhere, which again, it was a whole other learning thing. But yeah, everything was live and hosted, so you could actually visit the project and interact with it.
And we will get to that, or you will get to that through this course by the last units. That's where we start seeing how to host actually Netlify or Heroku or things like that, how you host your projects so you have them ready. And speaking of this topic, did you organize your GitHub? Because usually during the classes, the students have just a bunch of repositories, right? 101, 102, 103, that doesn't tell anything to the reviewer or the interviewer. Did you tweak that one?
No, so I didn't touch my GitHub profile much. I just put like the featured projects. Everything else, I just tried to make sure that the activity was always green. When you go to your page, you can kind of see like the activity of what you're doing daily. So I try to just push, even if it was just a space, just at least have one commit a day. But yeah, that was about it on there.
Yeah, okay. I still recommend to everyone to create a new repository or clean your repository, organize them as Miles mentioned, basic JavaScript, and put your projects inside it, or something that tells more to the reviewer than just 101 to 120 that doesn't tell anything.
Definitely. I went back with the descriptions actually and said what technologies were in each one, because I couldn't even figure out which one was which.
Yeah. Anthony?
So how you're talking about cleaning up your repositories in GitHub, are you able to rename them, or are you talking about just creating completely new ones and adding the code onto them?
You can rename it, but my recommendation will be to move the ones that you have in there as private so no one can see them, download them to your computer, and then re-upload it to new repositories with a better name, better organization, or things like that.
Got it.
I renamed a bunch of mine, but I didn't add a description yet. and I was trying to figure out how to open them because I remember we worked on the online store in the back end and the front end. So yeah, that's a challenge that I'm thinking about too. So
That's the exact ones that I'll say, wait, which one is this? Which one is that? 105 to 108. I think I was like, oh, what are these?
I was like, how do I open Python again?
If
I'm like,
anyone struggles with that, send me an email and I will be really happy to invite you guys to some of those classes. Like if you said that you struggle connecting front end and back end, then I will invite you to 120 number 2. Or if you have problems running Python, that may be 108 number 2 or something like that. But feel free to reach me and I can definitely send you the invite for that specific class so you can join in and get or practice again.
Yeah.
Documentation.
That's what I started doing. I started keeping the notes of like all our commands, and it looks crazy, but it definitely helps.
We're actually working on that too at work. We have to document everything, and now it's like, oh crap, I should have documented it.
Yeah, it's also suffering a little bit is part of the learning process, if I'm honest. Struggling to do something and then find your way to solve it. That's what you learn the most. Because if we just give you all the answers, you will just know those answers. You will not know how to think and solve the problems on your own. So try it, but also feel free to message me or any of the teachers, and I'm pretty sure everyone will be happy to invite you to a specific class that you need. Fernanda.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So, Miles, now you are an experienced developer, and I want to know which you had know as beginner that you know now as, a senior.
The whole imposter syndrome thing. If I knew that what I was doing was right on track, then I would have not had that feeling. But looking back, because I had that feeling, I kind of learned as quickly as I could. I tried to learn as much and as quickly as I could. So yeah, not stressing out as much as I was, but also not stressing out that I was stressing out so much, I guess, if that makes sense.
Totally. Yeah, it's interesting. I remember that you and me had a conversation about the imposter syndrome as soon as you got the offer, as soon as I knew that you got the offer. And for everyone, if anyone doesn't know what this means, it's the feeling that you will not do it, that you don't have what is required to succeed in the job that you just got or the position that it was offered. And it's usually a bug that we need to try to remove or corner, not to listen too much all the time. As Miles says, it was good for him to listen to it because that helps him practice and learn more stuff. But also don't focus too much on it. Try to realize that, okay, this feeling that I'm having now, it's the imposter syndrome. It's okay, I will do it, or I will practice and get ready for that topic. Dr. Rico.
Yeah. So thinking about the imposter syndrome and going back to the 70-something resumes that you sent, so it's like linked, right? Did it cross your mind? Well, maybe I'm not getting any calls because I'm not good enough, and then it's like, what was the story that you told yourself, or what were you, telling yourself, or in addition to that, what were you doing so that you would keep motivated to, despite not getting the call, still sending resumes? Were you sending, and then the other thing is, did you send the exact same resume to many different companies, or were you tailoring them specifically for that one position?
Yeah, I was actually, I would tailor after 10 or so. If something wasn't working, I would change it up a little bit and think, oh, okay, what can I put in here that looks better, at least to get the next part, to get the phone interviews. But it kind of pissed me off more than anything. It's like, it didn't freak me out. I don't think I got imposter syndrome from the actual application process. I knew that it was a extremely difficult field to actually jump into, to transition without any other experience, without any college degrees. I already knew that I was kind of at the bottom of the stack. So yeah, I knew I was going to put in a lot of resumes, but changing it, being adaptable, that was the biggest part.
I don't know if I agree too much with being at the bottom of the stack for not having a college degree. It certainly affects, but the good part of this career path that all of you are choosing, it's not essential. It's sometimes some companies mention that as a good to have. Someone says required, but either way, I encourage you guys to apply, because the person that writes the requirements is not your team lead and not your teammates. I'm pretty sure your teammates doesn't know if you have a college degree or not, and they don't care as long as you demonstrate your capabilities and you are able to do the work that you are assigned to. That document, it's less of an important, especially on this career that we are here.
Definitely. Yeah. And my coworkers actually made me nervous for the first month. And then I found out, oh, we're kind of all in the same boat.
Yeah, definitely. Anthony?
Yeah, no, actually having friends and family that are in this field, one of the big things that they actually tell me as far as interviewing and stuff like that, like once you do an interview, maybe you'll get a call, maybe you won't. Forget about it. Start work. Like, let's say, for example, you don't get it, start going, like, look into the next one. When you go to the next one, forget about the last one. You're going to do so many interviews that eventually you're going to reach a point that all the ones in the past, they didn't even matter, because they actually helped you get better for that following interview.
Definitely learn as much as you can from every interview.
I love that. I don't remember the first 20 that I put in, so that's a great point. Great point.
Okay, and getting back to the previous question of having a tailored resume for each company or one for everyone, I think my recommendation will be try to reach a middle point. Have your resume and then look what the company wants, and if that company wants Python or puts a lot of emphasis on Python, move Python in your resume a little bit up. Or if it's for a JavaScript, move the JavaScript part a little bit up. That way you can send a little bit of tailor to each one, but you don't need to create 70 different resumes for sure.
Definitely. Cover letters actually were helpful for me too.
Okay, nice, interesting. So, questions.
I do have a question. What's it called? Miles, did you ever took notes or like write down like the codes, or like did you ever forget any code?
I forgot everything and I wrote it all down in my book. I had 2 notebooks with me at all times just in case one got filled up. But yeah, I had 2 notebooks, one for front end, one for back end. They were like always with me. I'd carry them with my laptop. Extra pens, always taking notes. Especially I think when we started working in terminal, I wrote down every single stinking terminal command.
Nice. Samantha?
Hi. So Miles, I don't know if you mentioned how long from like graduation to when you got your first offer. And then, so that's first question. Second one, I know you had or have a newborn and you moved. What's kind of your work schedule right now? Like, are you remote? Do you have to go in?
Okay. Yeah. So my first offer was about 3 or 4 months after the course. That one was, or maybe a little bit longer actually. But that one was like, can you move to Virginia? I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a journey. So I kind of waited. I said, let me see, I'm applying at different places. That kind of gave me some power at least. So I waited to see what would happen. And then with the newborn, yeah, that was nuts. For moving, I actually moved to California for 3 months without my family. and I had them stay on Kauai, just because we're kind of situated a bit. Family was there. I came out here with kind of nobody. I was living with my auntie on her couch for a little bit, just to get the initial setup, find a place to rent, find a place to move, figure out what town we like. I'm like a 2-hour drive away from where I have to go in, but where I have to go in, I only have to go in once a month sometimes. Most of the time I'm on remote, but I'm actually jumping onto a new contract, so I won't have to go in at all, which is kind of really nice. I just have to go in for, every so often. But like I mentioned, I have side projects, so I try to stay in front of the computer from my 9 to 5 and then my 5 to 9. So that I strongly believe what you do after work is what's gonna make your money for your family. That would be your legacy. I forgot, there's some kind of saying about that, but I'll just bash it, something like that.
Amazing, thank you. Dr. Cardenas and then Dr. Jimenez.
Yes, thank you, Sergio. I just wanted to thank, of course, Miles and Sergio, Cecilia, and the whole group that has made possible this event, and of course our participants. They are our intention to benefit from this program, which we hope can be done again every month with distinguished graduates like Miles. But having said that, I think one of the key elements that made Miles so successful in his eventual path to the industry, basically into getting a great job, was networking with other alumni. And I encourage you to network with all of the alumni you can. These events will help that process. Not just your colleagues in the cohort that you're graduating with or that you have graduated with, but also alumni in general. And we can provide information on that. If you can do that networking, I am sure one of your graduates, alumni, colleagues from the past will be interested in your resume. Basically, the program gets stronger, and the network of graduates increases every year. And we've been around for a number of years already, at least 7 years with the program. And that's something that you should take into account. And I encourage Cecilia and Dr. Rico and Dr. Samantha to provide you with information on the other alumni. I think that's a very important element for you guys. And I'm 76 years old. I'm the president of the university. I'm the founder, and I can tell you that this is our main program. We were actually the first online university in the state of California. Many of you do not know, but when we started 20 years ago to apply for approval to operate as a private online university, there were no other online universities in the state. There were only 3 or 4 in the country. Now with COVID, and in your line of business, everything is online. Everything is remote. Now the advantage is yours. Your profession has a great advantage in that regard, and we're proud. We're proud to support you as your alma mater. And please, as soon as you finish and graduate, just think that we will always be here. Our vision is to be a long-term organization. We're small, but we're very well positioned. A lot of people know us in the industry. I've been in education for 50 years. I'm an electrical engineer. I am a systems engineer, my PhD from UCLA. In my years, there were no Python languages, only PL1. But you guys are in an incredibly exciting field. And, I just see, miles of opportunities in all regards. Just keep at it and have faith and trust in yourself and use the resources that we continue having. Cecilia, Doctor, not because you have graduated, you're gone from the university. As Dr. Isusa just said, you can always come back, and just sit in classes or whatever you need. But we want you to succeed. Each one of you is very important for us. So I just want to to leave that message for all of you guys. And thank you for participating. Sorry for the time that I took, Sergio.
Thank you very much for your message. I think last question, Samantha, Doctora Jimenez.
Yeah, it's not a question. I just want Miles. Would you like to remind all our students how important is the practice every day? Because I remember, and we were discussing that before, how many hours you were dedicating to become successful. Because we have two types of students, right? Maybe successful students, someone that will be finishing the course successfully without any problem, completing every assignment and completing all the final projects. And yeah, you can be a successful student, but we can also have successful developers as you. And I think that the key, it was the practice. How many time you were investing every day or every week, to become successful?
That's an emotional question. So every 3 hours of school, I would do 3 hours another day. So we had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Tuesday was class. Monday was no class. So Monday I would do 3 hours on something else. I was trying to just copy whatever we did in class without actually copying what we did in class and trying to make it work. So for each project, I did a duplicate project basically. And then, HackerRank, Code Wars, I would try to dedicate at least 2 hours to practice on just those fundamental core problem solving questions. But the amount of time in school I would spend was the same amount of time I would spend outside of school on practice projects.
Awesome. Okay, the time is almost ending. So for those of you that don't know Miles, it's because you are not using all the resources of the university, because Miles is the tutor here. Apart from being an alumni, a successful software developer, he also helped us tutoring the students. And he is here for the entire path of the course. So from 101 to the end, 120. If you ever struggle with anything, be sure to contact Miles and schedule a tutoring session. He's amazing. He always helps the students. So I think you should use the resources that we have at your disposal. And Doctora Cecilia, you want to talk a little bit more?
Sure. And speaking also of other resources that you have like handy, and we offer as career services this, or we can accompany you in this journey to look for a job, helping you tailor your resumes, finding out like different ways to actually like resonate with the application that you are like planning on applying to, and also having the activities to get you ready for a job interview. So as well with the tutoring sessions, you're very much welcome to contact me and schedule one of them so that we can work one-on-one and then get you more confident. That's part of the aim of those tutoring sessions, to for you to gain more confidence on what you're capable of doing. And like after we heard Miles speaking about imposter syndrome, it's like, no, let's go back to identifying what you already have, how you have already solved problems or have been able to complete projects, and then work with that on your side, knowing that you can actually do it because you have the knowledge and you have the experience needed to get started.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, especially Miles, for taking the time to share your insights here with the students. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And hopefully soon, each of you will be the next Spotlight speaker. Thank you very much, everyone. And see you in the next month on the next Spotlight. Thank you, Miles.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
San Diego Global Knowledge University, Education Beyond Boundaries. Please join us for more informative videos on our social media sites and YouTube.